I woke before dawn, the first light of morning, tinting the horizon in pale rose and gold. My wedding gown lay folded across the edge of the bed, its simple chiffon skirt and delicate lace bodice, a stark contrast to the extravagant silks and jewels my parents had insisted were necessary. I ran my fingers over the fabric, the cool lace brushing against my skin like a whisper. How strange it was, I thought, that something so beautiful could feel so heavy when it carried the weight of their disapproval. My name is Rosalind Hayes, and today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I dressed in the small sitting room off our master bedroom, the wood-paneled walls echoing with memories of my childhood, holidays spent under the twinkling glare of my mother's crystal chandelier, birthdays celebrated with my father's booming laughter. But none of that warmth existed now. My parents believed my choice of a small chapel wedding with just close friends and family was beneath our name, beneath our station. To them, love was transactional, a ledger of debts paid and reputations maintained. I tugged at the soft straps of my gown and slipped into the delicate ivory satin slippers that would carry me down the aisle. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, each beat reminding me of how far I'd come and how far I still had to go. A gentle knock came at the door. "Rosalind?" My sister Marin's voice, hushed with excitement, floated through the wood. I smoothed my skirt and took a steadying breath. "Come in." I opened the door and saw her standing there, her auburn hair catching the morning light. She looked radiant in her sage-green dress, the fabric wrapping around her like a promise of spring. "You look beautiful," she said, her voice thick with unshed tears. I smiled, though my heart clenched at the sight of her. Marin and I had always been close, but the walls between us had grown thicker over the years, built from unspoken resentments and comparisons. She was the one who had taken every opportunity to show me up, first at school, then in college, then with every achievement she managed to surpass me in. "Thank you," I replied, stepping aside so she could enter. "Are you ready?" She nodded, pulling me into a tight embrace. I wouldn't miss this for the world. We moved together toward the mirror, her hands deftly attaching a simple pearl hairpin at my nape. Marin's touch was gentle, almost reverent, a stark contrast to the scorn I'd felt from my parents. "Rosalind, you're doing the right thing," she whispered. "Don't let their opinions shake you. This day is about you and Adam." I traced the delicate pearls on the back of my neck and nodded. "I know." The sound of footsteps in the hallway made us straighten. My father appeared in the doorway, his dark suit impeccably tailored. His silver-haired head was held high, his blue eyes narrowed just enough to betray a hint of disapproval. "Well," he said, his voice controlled. "Are you ready?" I swallowed, meeting his gaze through the mirror. "Yes, Father." He nodded once and turned to leave. Upstairs, the chapel was empty except for the rays of morning light streaming through stained glass windows. The altar stood at the far end, draped in white roses and eucalyptus. The antique pews glimmered under the soft glow of brass candle sconces. My heart lurched as I stepped onto the aisle, the soft click of my slippers echoing like a heartbeat in my ears. I inhaled the scent of beeswax candles and fresh flowers, an aroma I would carry with me forever. Mother rose from the front pew, her high society gown shimmering with sequins. She offered me a thin, tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. The designer gown she'd worn to her own wedding by comparison would have swallowed me whole. I turned to face her. "Good morning, Mother." She inclined her head. "Good morning, Rosalind." Her tone was cordial, detached. I drew in a breath. "Will you come sit with us after?" I asked, voice soft. "You and Father are invited to dinner at Adam's family home tonight." She considered me for a moment as if assessing a business proposal. "We will see." With that, she returned to her seat. I gripped my bouquet of wildflowers, peonies, lavender, and baby's breath, wrapped in simple twine. This bouquet was a statement of who I was, modest, heartfelt, authentic. The doors at the back of the chapel opened, and Adam stepped through. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit him like a second skin. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and his green eyes, so like mine, softened when they fell on me. Time slowed as he walked toward me, I watched the way the morning light danced on his features, illuminating the quiet strength in his jaw, the warmth in his smile. When he reached me, he took my hand, his skin warm against mine. "You look perfect," he whispered. My breath caught. "So do you." Quote. We stood there for a heartbeat, surrounded by those we loved and those who stood quietly in judgment. I took a step forward, and we began to recite the vows that my mother had scoffed at, that my father had dismissed as naive. I spoke each word with conviction, each promise a rebellion. I vow to stand by you in laughter and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, for as long as we both shall live. Adam's voice trembled on his vow, and I felt tears prick at my eyes as hours intertwined under the chapel's vaulted ceiling. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, the chapel erupted in applause, but in the back pew my mother sat still, her expression unreadable. I pressed my lips together, determined not to let her disapproval mar this moment. After the ceremony, we stepped into the bright morning air, greeted by a chorus of congratulations. I felt Marin's hand on my back, my father's arm around my shoulders. Adam lifted my veil, and his smile was a promise of everything to come. Yet, as we posed for photographs, I noticed a quiet conversation between my mother and my great-uncle George, his head bent close to her ear, her face pale beneath the sequins. I gave Adam a questioning look. "Business," he replied with a gentle squeeze of my hand. "They'll come around." I nodded, but a knot twisted in my stomach. Because today was supposed to be about love, but it had always been about more. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. I leaned into Adam's warmth as cameras flashed, feeling the cool spring breeze carry the scent of cherry blossoms across the courtyard. My heart still pounded from the ceremony, but excitement mingled with a strange sense of trepidation. The reception was to be held in the rose garden behind the chapel, a modest affair, just tables draped in white linen and strings of fairy lights woven through the trees. Exactly what I'd envisioned. As we wound our way through clusters of smiling guests, I kept one eye on my parents. My father's posture was stiff, his jaw set so tight the silver at his temples glinted under the sun. My mother floated beside him in a sparkling gown, her smile fixed as though sculpted. They clapped, they toasted, they posed for pictures, yet I could almost feel them counting every guest's outfit, measuring the quality of every flower, weighing the worth of each gift. I imagined their internal ledger, guest list expenses, floral arrangements, catering costs. To them, love was a transaction, and this day was an accounting. "Rosalind, may I have this dance?" Adam asked, as a soft melody drifted from the old oak atop which the string quartet performed. I looked at him, his tie loosened slightly, gold cufflinks catching the light. He offered his hand, his green eyes warm and earnest. "Always," I whispered, resting my hand in his. We swayed among our friends, Marin beside us, laughing with my college roommate Lila, Uncle George beaming, glass raised, my grandmother tearing up discreetly at the edge of the group. "This is perfect," Adam murmured in my ear. But even as I smiled, a knot in my stomach tightened. My mother's voice floated to me, quiet but sharp. "Do you think you'll be able to support her?" she was asking Uncle George, just loud enough for me to hear. "I'm not convinced a small-town accountant can provide the lifestyle Rosalind deserves." Uncle George's reply was soft. "If he has her heart, he has everything." I squeezed Adam's hand, my blood singing with both love and anger. My parents had mocked my simple wedding, ridiculed my choice of partner, dismissed the future I was building. They had dreamed of a grand affair, ballroom, designer dresses, majestic carriage. But I had chosen authenticity, forging a path guided by my heart. Grandmother approached, her lace shawl draped around her shoulders. "Darling, you look radiant." I kissed her cheek. "Thank you, Granny." "Your mother is worried, dear, but you know what's most important." Her gentle voice steadied me. "I do, Granny." The band shifted to an upbeat tune, and Adam pulled me into a twirl. Laughter bubbled up through me, and I let it carry away the tension. But as the afternoon wore on, the celebration took a turn. The caterers began to pack away plates, my favorite lemon tarts disappearing with golden efficiency. Conversations shifted from congratulations to hushed discussions of business, of real estate, of my husband's family's holdings. My breath caught when I overheard my mother speaking to my Aunt Charlotte. He's only a junior partner at his firm. His inheritance is nowhere near the fortune he'll need to support her lifestyle. I felt a surge of indignation but forced a smile. I refused to let their doubts overshadow this day. Adam guided me to the side pavilion where a small cake awaited us, a simple vanilla sponge with buttercream icing, topped with fresh berries. Exactly what I'd requested. "Ready?" he asked, lifting the cake knife. I nodded, glancing back at my parents. Father lifted his champagne glass in a silent toast. I raised mine to him in return, eyes locking. We cut the cake together, our fingers brushing. Sweet buttercream melted on my tongue as I fed Adam a bite, and his delighted smile warmed me like the sun. "Best cake ever," he declared, wiping frosting from my lips. I laughed, but beneath the joy I felt the undercurrent of my family's skepticism. They had mocked me for months. My dress, my venue, my dreams. Yet here I stood, married to the man I loved. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the garden, Adam pulled me close. "Let's sneak away for a moment," he said. We slipped through the hedge maze to a small gazebo I'd spotted earlier, vines climbing its weathered pillars. Inside, it was quiet, the world reduced to the soft whisper of leaves and the distant murmur of laughter. Adam turned to me, his eyes serious. "I want you to know, today is just the beginning. We'll face challenges, but I'm with you, always." Tears pricked at my eyes. "I know, and I promise, whatever comes, we'll handle it together." He lifted my chin and kissed me, slow, deliberate, a promise of shared strength. But as I rested my head against his shoulder, I couldn't shake the image of my parents' doubt. The world beyond that garden held both promise and peril. I pulled back and looked at Adam. "There's something you should know. My parents, they're in trouble, financial trouble, and they're the ones who might need help." Adam's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" I inhaled, the scent of jasmine surrounding us. "I didn't want to worry you on our wedding day, but they mocked this celebration, but now they need help. Money help. I'm not sure how deep it goes." Adam took my hands. "We'll figure it out. Together." I nodded, though uncertainty coiled in my chest. The distant chime of the dinner bell called us back. Hand in hand, we left the sanctuary of the gazebo, knowing that the quiet revelations of this day would shape the battles we were yet to face. The reception hall shimmered under strings of Edison bulbs, turning the wooden pavilion into a golden dream. Guests drifted inside for dinner. Long tables lined with mismatched chairs, each place setting marked by a sprig of wildflowers tied to a folded paper menu. I paused at the entrance, marveling at how something so modest felt so magical, but a pang of anxiety knotted my stomach. Tonight would mark the first step of our new life together, and the first challenge we would face. Adam slipped his arm around my waist as we entered. His presence grounded me, and I squeezed his hand, grateful for his calm. "They'll be along soon," he whispered. "Let them finish the champagne." But as the guests mingled, I searched the door. My parents had slipped away after the cake, and whispers now swirled that they'd gone to make an unexpected phone call. I felt a flush of betrayal. Our wedding, their retreat into secrecy. Our first dance began, "Can't Help Falling in Love," played softly, the violin's notes curling through the air. We moved in the center of the room, floating on the music. Glasses caught the light, faces blurred into warm smiles. Yet through every emotion, joy, relief, love, anxiety clawed at me. I had promised Adam honesty. I needed to tell him what I knew about my parents' troubles. When the song ended, applause thundered. I excused myself and made my way outside, the cool night air a balm against my flushed cheeks. The moon hung low, its silver light spilling over the garden. Underneath the old oak tree, I found Marin on her phone. "Rosalind?" she said, blinking up. "I was just..." What's going on? I demanded, voice low. Where are they? Marin hesitated, biting her lip. They went to see Father's lawyer, said it was urgent. My chest tightened. Why didn't they tell me? She looked away. They didn't want to worry you. You have enough on your plate. I shook my head, tears prickling. It's my wedding day. My voice broke. They mocked every detail, and now they abandon me? Marin's hand found mine. I'm sorry, but promise me you'll talk to Adam first. Don't jump to conclusions. I swallowed, the cool night swallowing my anger and sadness. You're right. Inside, Adam was waiting, his brows drawn together. Rosalind? He said, voice gentle. What's wrong? I took a deep breath. They've gone to see Father's lawyer. Financial trouble. His eyes widened, hurt and worry mixing. Why didn't they tell me? I reached for his hand. I wanted to protect you, but I see now. I should have been honest. Adam pulled me close. We'll face this together. But you must promise me, no more secrets. I nodded against his chest. I promise. Throughout dinner, I sat beside Adam, our hands entwined under the table. My parents were conspicuously absent. Their empty seats felt like a verdict. I ached for their approval, but their silence spoke louder than any words. The dinner service ended, and dessert was served. Miniature pavlovas topped with fresh strawberries. Marin raised her glass. To the newlyweds, may your life be as sweet as this dessert. Glasses clinked. I smiled bravely, hoping my voice didn't tremble. Afterward, the guests gathered for speeches. My best friend Lila spoke first. Her toast, a tapestry of shared memories, childhood secrets, dreams fulfilled. When she finished, tears glistened in her eyes. Then it was my father's turn. He stepped to the podium, his gaze fixed on me. I braced myself. Rosalind, he began, voice steady. You've always marched to your own drum. When you told us you wanted a simple wedding, we thought you were... He hesitated, glancing at Mother's empty seat. We thought you were making a mistake. But today, I see something I've long overlooked. Strength, courage. My heart lurched. He let the words hang before continuing. I'm sorry for doubting you. I'm sorry for mocking your choices. Today, I'm proud, his throat tightened, to call you my daughter. A silence held, thick and trembling. I stood, cheeks wet. Thank you, Father. He reached out and took my hand. I want you to know, your mother and I, yes, we face hardship, but whatever comes, you have our support. Tears blurred my vision, but through them I saw Adam's proud smile. My parents' empty seat seemed smaller now, not a sign of betrayal, but a gap we could bridge. Marin handed me a napkin, her eyes bright. You did it! I took a shaky breath, the reality settling in. Their skepticism had melted, replaced by love and respect. But outside, the lawyer's call had only revealed the tip of the iceberg. Debts hidden, investments souring. My father's words had bought me time, but he hadn't shared everything. I looked at Adam. We need to find out how deep the trouble goes. He nodded, determination lighting his eyes. Tomorrow, we'll tackle it head on. I smiled, despite the knot in my stomach. Together we could face anything. Yet as the moonlight danced through the pavilion windows, I couldn't shake the sense that this was only the beginning of the trials we would endure. I woke before sunrise on the morning after our wedding, the world outside our bedroom window painted in pale lavender light. The veil that had framed my face now lay crumpled on the floor, a tangible relic of the vows I'd whispered hours ago. Adam's steady breathing beside me was a comfort, grounding me in the reality of our marriage. I reached out and brushed back his hair, marveling at how effortlessly our lives had become intertwined. But as the weight of the day's revelations settled in, I felt a new urgency, a need to confront the truths my parents had hidden. By breakfast, the rose garden was bathed in dew, the petals glistening like gems. We joined a small gathering of friends and family, though the mood was quieter now. The string quartet had been replaced by gentle conversation and the clink of coffee cups. Marin poured us each a cup of steaming espresso, her eyes hopeful. Rosalind, she ventured, are you all right? You look pensive. I took a sip, the rich bitterness clearing my mind. I'm fine, Marin, just thinking. I forced a smile. Adam leaned in, his voice low. Are you sure you want to handle this now? I nodded. We can't wait. I need to know how deep their troubles go before we decide what to do. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Okay, let's do it. We rose and walked together toward my parents' house, a grand Georgian estate on the edge of town. The wrought iron gates creaked as we entered, the gravel driveway winding beneath ancient oak trees. Every step felt heavy, each footfall echoing with memories. My 6th birthday party in the ballroom, holiday dinners by the fireplace, my first school dance celebrated in these very halls. I paused at the threshold of the study where my father had gone to meet his lawyer the night before. Adam's hand rested on my back. After you, he said gently. I inhaled, then entered. The room smelled of leather-bound books and old money. My father sat behind his mahogany desk, his shoulders hunched. The morning light cut through the diamond panes, painting him in stripes of gold and shadow. Rosalind, he said, voice hollow, come in. My mother stood by the fireplace, her arms crossed. Her sequined gown from last night was replaced by a simple cashmere cardigan and skirt. She looked pale. Adam, my father acknowledged with a curt nod. Adam stepped forward. Sir. My father gestured to a chair. Have a seat. I sat, my legs stiff. My father folded his hands. I told you they were pressing me for payment, he began, voice low. Our investments in the development project went belly up. The bank called in the loan last night. My breath caught. How long have they been in trouble? My attorney says we have a week to clear the outstanding debt, or they seize the estate. My heart pounded. A week? But, I swallowed. Are there no other assets? No liquid funds? Father shook his head. All tied up in real estate. The market crashed. The developers ran. His voice cracked. We were duped. My mother moved to his side and placed a hand on his shoulder. We didn't mean to hide it, Ross. We thought we could handle it. We wanted to protect you and Adam. Tears sprung to my eyes. Protective silence hung for a heartbeat before I spoke. They mocked my wedding, criticized my choices, and now they need help. From us. My voice trembled. You gambled our future on some scheme and didn't tell me. My mother's eyes filled. We were ashamed. Adam rose and joined us. Let's not fight. We can find a way. I turned to him, gratitude and fear mingling in my chest. We can? He nodded. Together. We spent the next hour combing through financial statements, balance sheets green with ink and red with deficits. I learned of offshore accounts, failed partnerships, and hidden liens. The magnitude of the collapse was staggering. The estate, our lifelong home, was on the brink of foreclosure. By noon, the reality sank in. My parents' pride had cost them everything. We devised a plan. Adam would approach his firm for a bridge loan based on his potential inheritance. They believed in his acumen, and he had decades of leadership ahead of him. I would liquidate my modest savings and borrow against the modest condo I'd owned. Marin offered her wedding fund, her gift to me as collateral. Even Uncle George promised to refinance his share of the family trust. It was a patchwork solution, precarious but possible. As we left the study, my father called after me. Rosalind, thank you for helping. I paused and looked back. I saw regret etched in his features, and for the first time I saw vulnerability instead of disdain. Father, we're family. My voice was firm. We'll get through this. But from now on, no more secrets. He nodded. Outside, I exhaled. The weight in my chest lifted slightly. The path ahead would be hard. I would juggle my new marriage, my career, and the rescue of my parents' legacy. But with Adam at my side, and the unexpected unity of my family, I felt an ember of hope ignite. As I looked back at our home, the Georgian windows reflecting the afternoon sun, I knew life had irrevocably changed, and that our greatest tests were still to come. The dining pavilion buzzed with warmth as guests settled for the evening meal. Lanterns overhead cast a gentle glow, illuminating wooden tables strewn with flickering candles and sprigs of wild lavender. I took my seat next to Adam, my heart heavy with the weight of the secret I'd shared. A hush fell as my mother stood to give the grace. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day, for family, for love, she began, her voice steady but laced with emotion. May we gather now in joy and support, embracing one another with open hearts. I felt Adam's hand squeeze mine under the table. My mother's words hung in the air, an unspoken plea for unity. I swallowed hard, knowing the fragile truce was fading. The first course arrived, roasted beet salad with goat cheese and arugula. Marin leaned in, her eyes dark with concern. They're asking about the loan again, she murmured. Adam raised an eyebrow. Then let's answer honestly. I nodded, standing when my father and mother raised their glasses. I lifted mine too. To family, I said, voice clear, and to facing our challenges together. Glasses clinked. My mother's lips quivered. Together, she echoed. A buzz of murmurs circled the table. The guests exchanged glances, sensing the tension but unaware of the undercurrents. My father cleared his throat. I think a toast would be appropriate, he said. To Rosalind and Adam, may your marriage be as resilient as the love that binds us. Adam and I exchanged glances before standing. He began. Thank you all for being here. Rosalind, you are my haven, my anchor. Today I vowed to stand by you in all circumstances, and that vow extends to your family. I felt tears sting my eyes. His public declaration was a lifeline. There are storms ahead, he continued, voice unwavering. But thank you for trusting me, Rosalind, and thank you for welcoming me into your family. Soft applause followed. My mother dabbed her eyes. My father looked at me with pride. After dinner, guests drifted to the dance floor. A lively tune filled the air, and couples twirled beneath the lantern light. I slipped away with Adam toward the hedge maze, where shadows danced and the night held its breath. As we navigated the twists, Adam spoke. We need to secure that loan tomorrow morning, he said. I'll meet with my firm's partners. They respect my pedigree, they'll help, if only to support you. I exhaled. And I'll talk to Marian about her savings. We'll spread the burden across everyone who loves us. He kissed my temple. We'll be fine. We reached the center of the maze, where a weathered bench sat beneath a canopy of ivy. I perched beside him, the cool stones seeping into my dress. Do you ever regret it? I asked quietly. Choosing a simple wedding? Choosing me? His hand cupped my cheek. Never. If anything, I wish you'd never doubted yourself. Relief flushed through me, but then I remembered my mother's caution. I'm worried about them, I admitted. How far does this go? Did they lose more than the estate? Adam's expression darkened. Let's not think about that tonight. One step at a time. He rested his forehead against mine. I believe in us. I nodded, drawing comfort from his certainty. The distant melody of laughter drifted through the maze. Outside, in the pavilion, my parents laughed with friends, an illusion of normalcy amid chaos. My heart clenched at the sight. We held each other in the stillness, the mazes, twisting hedges sheltering us from the world. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now, back to the story. His lips curved in a smile. Now, he said, let's make sure this family stays whole. I nodded, resolve settling in my bones. The first light of dawn filtered through the lace curtains of our bedroom, painting the room in soft hues of rose and cream. I lay beside Adam, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, and allowed myself a moment of peace before the day's battles began. Yesterday's celebratory glow had been replaced by the sobering reality of rescuing my parents' legacy, and every step felt weighted by responsibility. We rose quietly, slipping into our morning rituals, coffee poured, toast buttered, before Adam handed me the dossier he'd compiled. Inside were spreadsheets, loan options, and notes from his firm's partners. Here's what we can offer, he said, voice hushed. A bridge loan at favorable terms, contingent on your parents' collateral. It's risky, but it buys us time. Quote, I studied the figures, my stomach tightening. It means mortgaging the house for the next decade, but if it saves the estate, I trailed off, torn between sacrifice and preservation. Adam pressed a kiss to my temple. I believe this is worth it. I nodded, resolve hardening. Let's do it. At 10, we arrived at Adam's law firm, a sleek glass tower in the heart of the city. His colleagues greeted us with polite smiles, aware of the wedding and murmurs of financial distress. We were ushered into the conference room, where 3 senior partners sat, eyes expectant. "Thank you for coming," Adam began, his voice steady. "I'm here on behalf of my wife's family. They face an unexpected foreclosure. We're requesting a bridge loan against their estate. The terms I'm proposing are detailed here." The partners exchanged glances over polished mahogany. The eldest, Margaret Rhodes, adjusted her glasses. "Mr. Hayes, your record is impeccable. And your wife's family has a long-standing reputation," she gave me a pointed look, "for prudence, despite recent setbacks." Heat rushed to my cheeks. I met her gaze, refusing to flinch. "Yes," I said softly. "My parents made errors in judgment. They're deeply remorseful and committed to repaying every penny." Margaret nodded, flipping through the documents. "The firm can underwrite the loan, but will require joint collateral, including your personal savings and future inheritance." Adam leaned forward. "We understand the risk and accept the conditions." Margaret smiled faintly. "Very well. We'll draft the agreement today. Funds will be available by tomorrow morning." Relief flooded me. "Thank you." Outside the tower, Adam and I embraced. "One hurdle down," he whispered. "One less cloud hanging over us." I exhaled, the tension in my shoulders easing. "Let's go see my parents." We drove to the Georgian estate, where the morning air was crisp and fragrant with jasmine. In the study, my father looked up from his papers, worry still shadowing his features. "The loan?" he asked hopefully. I placed a copy of the agreement on his desk. "Approved. Funds will be here tomorrow." He exhaled, relief mingling with guilt. "Thank you, all of you." My mother entered, wrapping her arms around me. "I don't know how to repay you." I smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You can start by letting us in. No more secrets." She nodded. "No more secrets." As we left the study, Marin joined us, her eyes bright. "We did it," she whispered. I linked arms with Adam. "We did, but there's more to come. Details of the developer's collapse, potential legal fights, salvage operations. We need to prepare." He nodded. "We'll face them too. Together." The day stretched before us, a tapestry of tasks, meeting financial advisors, contacting untrustworthy developers, gathering legal counsel. Yet beneath the chaos, a new bond had formed, one not just of marriage, but of shared purpose and resilience. And as I walked through the estate's gardens, the blossoms of spring seemed to nod in quiet approval, promising that even the deepest wounds could heal when tended with love and courage. The moon hung low as the final guests departed, leaving the rose garden bathed in silvery light. Lanterns flickered like fireflies caught in the branches. Adam and I stood among the empty tables, the delicate scent of lavender lingering. The weight of the day pressed in, but there was something strangely intimate in this quiet aftermath, a blessing that belonged just to us. "I can't believe it's over," I whispered, leaning into him. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. "It's only the beginning." I rested my head on his shoulder, recalling every moment, the vows, the cake, my parents' reluctant tears. Yet beneath the joy, questions lingered. How deep did the debts run? Could we really save their estate? And what would my parents say when they learned of the extent of our sacrifice? Adam entwined our fingers. "Let's head inside. You need rest. Tomorrow, we start our work." We walked through the arbor, the cool grass brushing my slippers. Inside the pavilion, French doors led to the chapel. We paused, framed by the Gothic arch. "Do you ever regret defying them?" I asked softly, "choosing this path?" Adam turned to me, his eyes bright. "Not for a second." His certainty filled me with warmth, yet I hesitated. "Promise me something?" "Anything," he replied. "Promise me you'll never let their doubts make you doubt yourself." His gaze held mine. "I promise. And you promise me you'll ask for help when you need it." I nodded. "I promise." He grinned, that infectious sparkle lighting his face. "Deal. Now how about midnight champagne in the bridal suite?" Laughter bubbled up in me. "Only if you carry me there." Moments later, we climbed the stairs to our rooms in the old rectory, rooms I'd insisted on for their charm. The door to the bridal suite creaked open, revealing a four-poster bed draped in gauzy curtains. Fresh rose petals dotted the floor, a romantic surprise arranged by Marin. I sank onto the edge of the bed, exhaustion overtaking me. I couldn't have asked for a better sister. Adam poured chilled champagne into 2 crystal flutes. He handed one to me. "To us," he said, lifting the glass. "To us," I echoed, clinking my glass against his. We sipped, the bubbles tickling my nose. The day's stress faded in the warm embrace of this moment. But I knew tomorrow we'd need every ounce of strength. Sleep called to me, but I resisted, cherishing the last slivers of our wedding night. I traced patterns on Adam's palm. "Tell me a story," I pleaded. He grinned. "Which one? Of how we met at that awkward office party?" I giggled. "Yes, that one." He recounted our first meeting, me accidentally spilling coffee on his papers, his flustered apology, our shy smiles. As he spoke, I marveled at how far we'd come, from nervous strangers to partners ready to face a kingdom of troubles. Still, as I drifted towards sleep, unease tugged at my consciousness. Developers could be ruthless, banks unforgiving. Our plan hinged on goodwill and paper promises. I woke hours later, the room cloaked in darkness, moonlight streaming through the window. Adam was silent beside me, arms wrapped around me in sleep's afterglow. I slipped from the bed and tiptoed to the window. Below, the garden slept under a blanket of dew. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called, a haunting melody. Tomorrow, I would call the bank to confirm transfer. I would meet the lawyer to discuss foreclosure options. I would scour our options until a solution emerged. But tonight I would savor this victory. I had married the man I loved on my terms, and together we had taken the first step towards saving our family's future. Before sleep reclaimed me, I whispered into the night, "We've got this, together." The morning sun filtered through the stained glass window of the chapel as I stood in the empty pews, running my fingertips along the smooth wooden surface. It was a sacred place to me, where vows had been made, tears shed, and futures forged. Yet today, its silence felt oppressive, a reminder of the weight of the days ahead. I breathed deeply, inhaling the scent of polished wood and lingering incense. Adam had left early to finalize details of the bridge loan with his firm. Marin, ever the early riser, had joined me in searching the family archives, ledgers, letters, bank statements, seeking answers in the past to secure our future. "Rosalind?" she called softly from the pulpit area. I climbed the few steps to join her. She held an old ledger, its leather cover cracked and pages yellowed. "Look at this," she said, flipping to a page marked Investment Trusts, 2018. Lines of numbers sprawled across the page, ink smudged in places. I peered over her shoulder. "These were never reported to the bank," I murmured. Marin shook her head. "They show additional loans we took out under your parents' names. Loans they didn't include when they met with the lawyer." A cold chill ran down my spine. "Hidden debts?" She nodded. "Over $500,000. My heart pounded. "This goes beyond the developer's collapse. We're staring at holes they dug and never told us about." Marin bit her lip. "I'm so sorry, Roz." I closed my eyes, steadying myself. "They meant to protect us, but this secrecy could destroy us." My voice trembled with anger and hurt. Marin reached for my hand. "We'll fix it, together." I nodded, though doubt gnawed at me. We spent the morning poring over documents, cross-referencing account numbers, and mapping the full extent of the liabilities. Each discovery felt like a fresh betrayal, a hidden loan here, a forged signature there. The breadth of the deception was staggering. By midday, Adam returned. His crisp suit was replaced by a casual polo and slacks, the uniform of a man who'd fought a battle he'd won. "The loan closes tomorrow morning," he announced, dropping into a pew beside me. Margaret and her team already drafted the paperwork. I managed a weak smile. "That's good news." He studied my face. "Roz, you're pale. What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. "More debts. Hidden ones." I explained what Marin and I had uncovered. Adam's face darkened. $500,000? That's beyond risky. I nodded. I know. We need to renegotiate terms or find additional funding streams. He stood, pacing the aisle. I can tap into my family's emergency reserve. It's not much, but it could cover the additional loans until we refinance. I shook my head. That's your inheritance. I won't take more from you. He rounded the pew. You won't be taking it. You'll be investing it. Your parents lost everything they had. Now we have a chance to set things right. His voice was firm. I looked up at the rose-colored light filtering through the glass. We're running out of options. Adam approached, kneeling beside me. We'll exhaust every option. Loans. Loans against assets. Selling the condo if we have to. But we'll keep the estate. Because it's not just a house. It's history, memories, family. Tears pricked at my eyes. I nodded. Okay. He hugged me tightly, and in that moment, I felt the strength of our union, not just as newlyweds, but as partners in a cause bigger than ourselves. Let's head to the bank, Adam said, guiding me toward the exit. Outside, the world was bright with spring promise. Cherry blossoms drifted on the breeze. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but as long as we faced them together, I believed we could reclaim everything that had been lost, and perhaps forge something even stronger in its place. The morning after a long day of negotiations dawned crisp and clear, the world outside painted in pastel hues of early summer. I sat at the ornate breakfast table in my parents' Georgian dining room, the same table where I had celebrated countless milestones, graduations, birthdays, holidays. Now it bore the weight of a new chapter: strategy plans, legal papers, financial forecasts. Adam leaned over and placed a warm croissant in front of me, his eyes bright with concern and hope. Today's the day the bridge loan closes, he said quietly. From here, we secure the final details and set a plan to cover the hidden debts. I pressed my fingertips to my lips, the pastry's buttery flakes melting on my tongue. Then let's get started. My voice carried a mixture of determination and exhaustion. Marin entered with 2 mugs of coffee, her auburn hair tied back in a loose chignon. She handed one to me, then glanced at the scattered documents. The bank sent over the loan agreement for the additional inventory loans, she said. They want signatures by noon. I frowned, setting my mug down. That's before we even know the final numbers on the liens. Marin sighed. We'll have to estimate, then adjust future refinancing. She looked at Adam. Will your firm allow for an extension? Adam shook his head. Margaret said tomorrow is the absolute deadline. They're already stretching their usual terms. He caught my eye. But she trusts us to make it work. A sudden swell of anxiety gripped me. The stakes felt higher than ever. One wrong move and the entire estate could slip from our grasp, swallowed by hidden debts and unforgiving banks. I ran my hand through my hair. We need solid numbers, now. Before Adam could respond, the front door opened. My father stepped into the room, his face grave. I've just spoken to Gerald, the estate manager. One of the property parcels we thought saleable has a covenant preventing any sale for at least 5 years. My heart sank. What? But that's the parcel we were counting on for collateral. He nodded. I'm sorry, I didn't know. They must have encoded it in the fine print. I closed my eyes, the world tilting. The timeline we'd built, loans, refinancing, bridge agreements, began to unravel. Adam rose, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. We'll adjust. Marin, pull the figures on the next highest value parcels. We pivot. Marin hurried from the room as my father sank into a chair, head in his hands. Shame and regret flickered across his features. I crossed the table and stood before him. Father, I said softly, we're going to save this estate. But we need honesty. Every detail, every hidden clause. He looked up, tears in his eyes. I will tell you everything I know. No more secrets. Relief washed over me. Thank you. The next 2 hours were a whirlwind of activity. Marin cross-referencing covenants. Adam on the phone renegotiating terms. Me drafting emails to prospective private investors. When noon struck, we gathered again at the dining table, the papers laid out like battle plans. My mother emerged from the hallway, dressed in a crisp white blouse. She carried a portfolio of documents. I spoke with Aunt Charlotte. She's willing to loan a portion of her trust on the condition we keep her informed of every step. I took the papers. That's a lifeline. Thank you. Tears filled her eyes. I want to make this right. I smiled at her, pride swelling in my chest. You are making it right. With Charlotte's infusion, Margaret's bridge loan, and a new contingency plan for the parcels, the numbers finally aligned. We signed the final agreements just before the noon deadline. As our pens hit paper, I felt a surge of triumph. Against hidden debts, failed investments, and cunning covenants, we had prevailed. Adam wrapped his arms around me as we stood. We did it. I leaned into his embrace, tears trailing down my cheeks. Yes, we did. Quote. The room burst into quiet applause, Marin's proud claps, my parents' relieved smiles. Yet as the celebration echoed around me, I knew this victory was but one in a series. The estate was safe for now, but the work to rebuild trust and secure our future was just beginning. And as I looked at Adam's steadfast gaze, I knew there was no one else I'd rather have by my side on this journey, no better partner in love and life. At the first light of dawn, I stood on the veranda overlooking the dew-kissed lawn of the family estate, savoring a moment of quiet before the day's storm. The hedges were trimmed to perfect symmetry, rose bushes stirring in the gentle breeze, and the Georgian facade bathed in gold. But beneath the beauty lay a complex web of debts and uncertainties that demanded immediate attention. I sipped my chamomile tea and steeled myself. Today I would meet with the town council regarding the restrictive covenant on the Willowfield parcel. A successful petition could unlock the parcel's sale or lease, providing vital cash flow. Marin had drawn up a proposal emphasizing the estate's historical value and communal benefit. The council was known for its preservationist stance, but we hoped our appeal would sway them. Adam emerged from the house, dressed in a tailored navy blazer and crisp white shirt. His presence beside me felt like armor against the challenges we faced. Ready for the council meeting? He asked, folding his arms. I nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. Marin joined us, clutching the proposal binder. They'll deliberate by midday. We climbed into the waiting car driven by the estate's chauffeur, and the vehicle glided through the winding lanes to the town hall. Inside the council chamber was a low-domed room, lined with oak paneling and tall windows. Council members sat behind an elevated dais, their expressions formal. The town clerk called our names. Marin stepped forward, clearing her throat. Esteemed council members, thank you for considering our petition. This parcel, known as Willowfield, is integral to the estate's heritage and the community's cultural landscape. We propose a limited-use lease that preserves public access while generating revenue to maintain the estate's upkeep. She flipped through the binder, revealing photographs of community events held on the grounds, charity fetes, historical reenactments, local art fairs. Councilman Hawthorne raised an eyebrow. Miss Hayes, the covenant dates back to 1902. Its purpose was to prevent commercial exploitation. What assurances can you offer that this lease won't set a precedent? Marin met his gaze. We propose strict guidelines. Only annual educational events, maximum occupancy limited to 200, and no permanent structures. All proceeds will be allocated to estate preservation and local scholarships. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Councilwoman Ellis leaned forward. Your family's estate is indeed a jewel of our town, but how will this benefit the broader community? I stepped forward, heart pounding. I'm Rosalind Hayes. As part of our marriage celebration, we pledged to create the Hayes Community Fund, an endowment for local youth programs and historic preservation grants. The revenue from Willowfield will seed this fund. We believe giving back is our duty. Silence followed, charged with anticipation. Finally, the council chair, Mrs. Aldridge, spoke. Your proposal is thoughtful, and your commitment is clear. We will deliberate and return with a decision. Thank you. With that, we filed out, tension hanging heavy in the air. On the drive back, Marin exhaled. That felt good. I nodded. Fingers crossed, it's enough. Back at the estate, we found my parents waiting in the drawing room. Their faces registered hope and fear in equal measure. How did it go? My father asked. I took a seat. They deliberated in closed session. We should hear by this afternoon. But they seemed receptive. Our community-focused approach resonated. My mother rose and embraced me. I'm proud of you. Tears sprang to my eyes. Thank you for trusting us. Throughout the morning, I alternated between checking emails from Margaret's firm and offering words of encouragement to my parents. When the council clerk phoned just before lunch, I excused myself, Adam at my side. His lips brushed my ear. No matter what, we'll find another way. I forced a confident nod. I know. We returned to the drawing room as the clerk read the verdict. The covenant would be amended to allow limited-use leasing under the strict terms we proposed. A cheer went up, and relief washed over us like spring rain. Late that afternoon, as the sun slanted through the oak trees, I stood alone in Willow Field, imagining laughter and life returning to this space. The grass shimmered with possibility. Tomorrow, I would draft the lease agreement. I would meet the community leaders organizing the first benefit festival. And I would continue unraveling the knots of debt that threatened to tangle the estate. But tonight, I would allow myself one small victory. Hand in hand, Adam and I walked through the field, our footsteps soft on the earth, our hearts lightened by hope and the promise of renewal. Dawn broke with a chorus of songbirds and the gentle rustle of wind through the old oak trees surrounding the estate. I woke in the bridal suite, the gauzy curtains still framing the tall windows, and stretched, the events of the past days swirling in my mind like pages in a novel I couldn't put down. Today, Marin had arranged a meeting with community event planners for the inaugural Hayes Community Festival, set to be held on Willow Field in 2 weeks. If successful, ticket sales would provide crucial revenue for our fund. If it faltered, we'd face yet another blow to our fragile finances. I dressed in a simple wrap dress, cream with tiny blue blossoms, and made my way downstairs. The corridors of the rectory were hushed, but I could hear the low hum of conversation as staff prepared for the day. In the dining room, Adam and Marin sat over coffee and last-minute proposal notes. The paper was covered in their neat handwriting: vendor contacts, food trucks, children's activities, local artisan booths. "Morning," I greeted, taking my seat. Adam stood and pulled me into a warm hug. "Big day?" I managed a small smile. "Community festival planning." Marin slid the final page across to me. "This is the schedule draft. We need your signature to confirm vendors." I scanned the list: the local bakery for pastries, a vintage carousel rental, a string trio for ambiance, booths for local crafters. It was ambitious and delightful. "It feels perfect," I said, touching the paper. "Let's do it." We finalized the schedule, set up payment installments, and confirmed the opening ceremony at sunrise on the festival's launch date. By mid-morning, we gathered at Willow Field, the tall grass brushing our ankles, the morning light painting the horizon. Community event coordinator Lily Price waved from beside the barn. She wore a straw hat and carried a clipboard. "So great to have you here," she said, shaking our hands. "With your leadership and these plans, this festival will be unforgettable." She led us through the space, pointing out areas for stages, picnic blankets, food stalls. Volunteers from the town council ambled in, ready to help set up. I felt a surge of pride, watching our vision spring to life, community spirit blending with the estate's storied past. Adam studied the land. "Looks like we need more portable restrooms on that side." Marin noted it. "I'll arrange it with the vendor." I walked to the center of the field, closing my eyes and breathing deep. "Listen," I whispered. "Can you hear it? Laughter, music, chatter, all coming soon." Adam and Marin joined me. This is what we're fighting for," I said. "A future beyond debts and foreclosures." They nodded. As the sun climbed higher, we shook hands with vendors, directed volunteers, and answered questions. The estate's caretaker brought iced lemon water, and the scent of fresh-cut grass mingled with early summer blooms. When we adjourned, my parents emerged from the manor's double doors, my father's face softened by a genuine smile, my mother's eyes shining. "This might be your greatest collaboration yet," my mother said, enveloping us in a group hug. My father clapped me on the back. "You've given this place life again." I felt tears sting. "Thank you for trusting us." He cleared his throat. I meant it. That evening, as we sat around the supper table, laughter flowed easily. The burdens of hidden debts felt distant, replaced by excitement for what lay ahead. Yet, as I looked at my family, my strong husband, my supportive sister, my reconciled parents, a quiet determination settled in my heart. The festival was just the beginning of rebuilding our legacy. Tomorrow I would meet with the town historian about a guided estate tour. The day after, I'd host a charity auction. Each step would strengthen our finances and our bonds. And as the candlelight flickered across familiar faces, I knew that no matter how dark the shadows of the past, a new light was rising over the Hayes estate, one of hope, unity, and unbreakable family ties. The soft glow of dawn crept through the shutters as I woke to the familiar symphony of chirping sparrows and rustling leaves. Another day of battles awaited, marketing the festival, managing new loans, and coordinating legal counsel. Yet, beneath the ever-present swirl of responsibilities, I felt an ember of excitement. We had moved beyond rescue mode. Now we were building. Adam emerged from the ensuite, tie askew but eyes bright. He offered me a cup of chai, the spice warming my hands. "Good morning," he murmured, brushing a stray hair from my forehead. I smiled, grateful for the small ritual. "Morning. Ready for the charity auction meeting?" He nodded. "And then the town historian at 2. I'll need you there." I sipped my tea, steeling myself for a long day. By 8:30, Marin and I convened in the study with Lydia Barker, the town's most respected charity organizer. The mahogany desk was strewn with bid sheets, sample items, and sponsorship proposals. Lydia adjusted her glasses. "Your festival is scheduled for June 1st, correct? We'll host the auction in the chapel on May 27th. Gives us time to collect items and promote." Marin flipped through our notes. "We have a vintage piano from the estate, a weekend at your lakeside cabin, and one more contribution from the Hayes family. Rosalind?" All eyes turned to me. I took a breath. "I'd like to offer a private garden tour, guided by me, for up to 20 guests. We'll serve champagne and hors d'oeuvre on the terrace." Lydia's eyes lit up. "Perfect, an exclusive experience. Your guests will adore it." I felt a surge of pride. Each event, each decision, reaffirmed that our legacy could thrive. By late morning, I met with solicitor Jonathan Pierce to review refinancing paperwork. His office, with shelves of leather-bound volumes, felt like a sanctuary from chaos. Yet, as our conversation delved into interest rates and covenants, my confidence flagged. "Mrs. Hayes," Jonathan said, his tone gentle, "your current leverage ratio is high. When the bridge loan matures, you'll need either to sell assets or secure long-term financing." I swallowed. "I know, that's why I'm here, to explore options." He nodded. "I'll draft a proposal to approach 2 private equity groups interested in heritage properties. They might underwrite a longer mortgage at favorable rates." Relief flickered in me. "Thank you." Afterwards, I hurried to the chapel for the town historian meeting. I found Dr. Eleanor Finch arranging chairs and lighting charts. Her passion for local lore was infectious. "Rosalind," she exclaimed, "I've unearthed original blueprints of the estate from 1832. Proposed rooftop terrace and secret tunnels beneath the garden. Imagine the tours." I laughed, envisioning the hushed awe of visitors discovering hidden doorways. "This will elevate our guided tours." She beamed. "Let's get started mapping." Hours later, I returned home, carrying sketches. Adam found me on the veranda, reviewing floor plans with Marin. "How was your day?" he asked, slipping an arm around me. I leaned into him. "Productive. The auction items are secured, refinancing options are promising, and Eleanor's tunnels will be a hit." He kissed my temple. "You're unstoppable." I looked at the setting sun painting the sky in rose and amber. We've turned every challenge into opportunity. I never imagined my simple wedding would evolve into this renaissance. Adam pulled me close. "Your vision has breathed new life into this place." Under the glowing sky, I realized that our greatest triumph was not in rescue, but in reinvention. From mocking laughter to heartfelt unity, we had transformed the estate, and ourselves. As night fell, lanterns were lit along the garden paths, guiding guests back to the manor. I watched their warm glow flicker, a promise of events yet to come. Tomorrow would bring new tasks, but for tonight, I allowed myself a moment of calm. Marriage, family, legacy, woven together in a tapestry stronger than any hidden debt. The dawn chorus of birds greeted me as I stood on the balcony overlooking the rose garden. The morning light gilded every petal, and dew sparkled like diamonds on the grass. But the serenity belied the storm brewing within my mind. The festival launch date loomed, the charity auction mere days away, and the final tranche of the bridge loan set to mature next month. Every smile, every celebration carried the weight of impending deadlines, yet I refused to let fear dictate my steps. Adam joined me, cradling 2 mugs of steaming Earl Grey. He handed one to me, his warmth seeping through the cool ceramic. "Morning, love," he whispered. I wrapped my hands around the mug. "Morning, big day. We meet with the private equity group." He took a sip and nodded. "Margaret arranged the pitch at their offices. They liked your renovation plan last week. I think we have a shot." I exhaled. "I hope so. If they underwrite a long-term mortgage, we can retire the bridge loan entirely. It's the key to stability." Adam set his cup down and took my hand. "You've done so much. Don't doubt your vision now." I smiled at him, the ache in my chest easing. Together. An hour later, we stepped into the sleek lobby of Hamilton and Clay, a private equity firm housed in a glass tower. The reception area was minimalist, marble floors, abstract art. We were escorted to a boardroom where a half-dozen sharply dressed investors waited. Margaret Rhodes, ever my champion, opened the meeting. "Thank you all for seeing us today. Mr. Hayes and Mrs. Hayes propose a long-term financing arrangement that not only secures the estate's preservation, but offers equity participation in our community initiatives." A silver-haired investor raised an eyebrow. "Equity participation? Explain." I stood, confidence rising. "We're launching the Hayes Community Fund, ongoing events, guided tours, educational programs, and an annual festival. We project net revenue of 6% annually based on comparable heritage estates. In exchange for long-term financing, HANC would receive up to a 20% equity stake in the fund's returns." The room was silent, the investors exchanging furtive glances. Adam added, "This structure aligns incentives. We're invested in growth, and HANC benefits from every festival ticket sold, every tour booked." One investor, Ms. Lawson, leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Your projections assume consistent attendance. What if the festival underperforms its first year?" I took a breath. "We've mitigated that risk by securing underwriting for up to 80% of the festival's cost. Our charity auction raised significant seed money, and we have sponsorship agreements with local businesses. The endowment from our inaugural festival will cover any shortfall." Margaret tapped her notes. "Additionally, the estate's assets, rentable venues, event spaces, cottages, provide secondary revenue streams. Our diversified approach reduces reliance on any single event." The investors nodded thoughtfully, and after further financial modeling discussions, the lead partner, Mr. Davenport, spoke. "Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Hayes, your proposal is compelling. We'll offer a 40-year amortization mortgage at prime plus 1%, with the equity stake as discussed. Let's finalize terms next week." Relief and triumph washed over me. I grasped Adam's hand under the table. "Thank you," I said, voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for believing in our vision." Back at the estate, we celebrated with Marin and my parents in the drawing room. My father raised his glass. "To Rosalind and Adam, may your legacy continue to flourish." Glasses clinked, laughter bubbled around me, but beneath the joy, a quiet realization settled in. This victory was more than financial. It was a testament to the power of love, unity, and unwavering belief. That night, as we walked through the lantern-lit garden, I paused by the fountain. The water's gentle murmur soothed my soul. "We did it," Adam whispered. I rested my head on his shoulder. "Yes, and now the real work begins, honoring every promise we've made to our family and our community." He kissed my temple. I wouldn't rather do it with anyone else. Under the stars, surrounded by the life we were reviving, I knew our simple wedding had become the spark for something extraordinary, a legacy not of grandeur, but of heart, resilience, and unbreakable bonds. The early morning mist clung to the rose garden, As I made my way toward the guest cottage, my steps steady but my heart pounding with anticipation. Today marked a milestone. The first official guided estate tour for a group of local art patrons. Their ticket sales would bolster the community fund and reinforce the estate's reputation. Marin had orchestrated every detail, and I was eager to prove that our vision could captivate even the most discerning visitors. I paused at the wrought iron gate, smoothing the bodice of my tailored navy coat. The damp air carried the scent of earth and blossoms. Ahead, the tour group gathered, umbrellas in hand, curiosity shining in their eyes. I inhaled, recalling Adam's steady support. His belief in me had carried me through every challenge. "Welcome," I began, voice clear. "I'm Rosalind Hayes, and it's an honor to guide you through our family's estate. Today, we'll explore the history, the hidden features, and the resilience that defines this place." They followed me onto the manicured lawn, and with each step, I shared stories of the original builders in the 1830s, of secret tunnels once used for wartime communication, of my own journey from skeptic bride to steward of this legacy. The group leaned in, their eyes reflecting wonder and empathy. At the entrance to the garden maze, I paused. "This maze," I said, "was designed not just for amusement, but as a metaphor for life's challenges. Sometimes you lose your way, but with perseverance and a guiding hand, you find your path." A hush fell as they entered the hedges, laughter and whispered exclamations echoing between the walls of green. When they emerged, they clapped, and I felt a swell of pride. By midday, we stood before the gazebo, where Adam and I had shared our first private moment as newlyweds. I recounted that special afternoon, the solemn vows my parents had collected in secret, and the promise that love could transcend even the deepest doubts. "In that moment," I concluded, "I realized that family isn't just defined by blood, but by the bonds we choose to forge." The final stop was the pavilion, where refreshments awaited, petite tarts from Moran's bakery, teas brewed with estate-grown herbs. I mingled with guests, receiving praise and questions about future events. One patron, a respected arts benefactor, approached. "Mrs. Hayes, this tour was enchanting. I'd like to host a fundraising gala here next season." My breath caught. We'd be honored. His handshake was firm. "Expect my proposal." And with that, he walked away, leaving me stunned and exhilarated. That evening, as dusk settled over the estate, I found Adam in the study. "How did it go?" he asked, relief and pride softening his gaze. I sank into the leather armchair. "They loved it. We've secured a gala, and the tour revenue exceeded projections by 20%. He smiled broadly. "I knew you'd shine." I reached for his hand. "I couldn't have done it without you." Silence stretched between us, warm and comforting. Yet as I looked at the family portraits lining the walls, my parents in their youth, Marin and me as children, I felt the lingering ache of redemption. We had come far from mocking laughter to shared investment in a future built on love and integrity. Tomorrow would bring the first charity auction in the chapel, where vintage treasures and heartfelt experiences would raise crucial funds. Each event was a step toward financial stability and emotional healing. But tonight I allowed myself to savor this success, the laughter of guests, and the quiet pride of fulfilling the promise of our simple wedding, that love, when honored, could transform not just a day, but generations to come. Morning mist drifted over the rows of lavender and rose bushes as I stood at the edge of the garden, reviewing the final checklist for the charity auction. The chapel doors would open in hours, and every detail needed to be perfect. Lighting, seating, auction paddles, catalogs. Marin hovered beside me, her clipboard growing thicker by the minute. "All the items are catalogued and displayed," she said, tapping her pen. "Guest arrival is at 4, and the bidders include several dignitaries. I have their names and paddle numbers here." I inhaled deeply. "Thank you. And the volunteers?" "In position. Emily and Thea will handle silent auction tables. Lila will cover refreshment service." I nodded. "And the seating chart?" Quote. Marin laughed softly. "Your family is front row, father next to the bishop, mother next to the mayor, and Adam beside you." I smiled. Though my chest tightened at the thought of standing before this crowd, the weight of expectations pressed on me. Adam joined us, adjusting his cufflinks. Ready? I looked at him, as I'll ever be. My gown was simple, champagne-colored silk with a modest train, chosen to blend elegance with restraint. It mirrored the ethos of our entire journey, refined yet authentic. Together we walked through the maze of volunteers and final preparations. The smell of polished wood and fresh flowers mingled in the air. I paused at the altar, picturing the moment later when my gavel would strike, and bids would soar. Remember, Adam whispered, this is more than money. It's about community and preserving our heritage. I nodded, feeling his support anchor me. At 3:30, guests began to arrive, stepping into the chapel's cool interior. Soft classical music played, strings drifting through the sunlit space. My parents greeted dignitaries in the foyer. My grandmother sat quietly in a side pew, her gentle smile a reminder of where this journey began. I stood at the entrance as the first guests filed in. I offered welcome smiles, guiding them to their seats. At 4, the doors gently closed. A hush fell. I stepped to the podium, lantern light reflecting off the polished wood. Welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon, I began, voice steady. Tonight's auction supports the Hayes Community Fund, dedicated to preserving our estate and fostering local programs for youth and the arts. The audience listened, their faces attentive. Father looked up, pride softening his features. I continued, every item you bid on holds a story. The hand-carved writing desk was crafted by my great-grandfather. The estate tour experience offers a glimpse into our hidden tunnels and historic gardens. As I described the items, I watched bids raise in the air. Woodwork, artwork, exclusive experiences. The paddle numbers flashed as the auctioneer's hammer rose and fell. At one point, my mother leaned over and whispered, I never imagined our names would be spoken with admiration rather than scorn. I squeezed her hand. This is your legacy too. The hammer fell on the final lot, a lifetime membership to the community fund's events, and the room erupted in applause. As guests filed out, congratulating us on the success, I felt tears sting my eyes. Outside, under lanterns glowing in the garden, guests mingled with champagne in hand. I found Adam near the fountain. Incredible, he said, pulling me into a hug. We raised more than double the target, I said, breathless with excitement. He lifted my chin. You did it. We did it. I looked at the smiling faces around us, at my parents laughing with old friends, at Marin beaming with relief. In that moment, I understood the full transformation. From mocking whispers about a simple wedding to heartfelt praise for the woman who reclaimed her family's future. This chapter of our story had ended, but the legacy we had built would echo for generations, proof that authenticity, love, and unity could overcome even the deepest shadows. The dawn broke clear and bright as if nature itself celebrated our victories. The festival had been a triumph, the charity auction a soaring success, and the equity financing secured. Yet, as I stood on the terrace overlooking the estate's vast grounds, I felt a restlessness stirring within me. There were still shadows to dispel, final legal hurdles to close, the first gala to plan, and the lingering need to restore my parents' confidence in themselves. Adam appeared at my side, 2 steaming mugs of coffee in hand. He handed me one and wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Good morning, he said softly. Ready for today's gala meeting? I took a sip, the warmth seeping into my chest. As ready as I'll ever be. We walked down the stone steps to the courtyard where Marin was waiting, reviewing seating arrangements on her tablet. Morning, you two, she greeted. The bishop and the mayor have confirmed for the May event. We need to finalize the program. I nodded. Let's gather in the drawing room and map it out. Inside, the room was bathed in morning light, the oil paintings on the walls looking down with solemn grace. A large oak table held spread-out documents. Invitations, program itineraries, seating charts, and floral mock-ups. First, Marin began, we open with a welcome reception in the pavilion, followed by a plated dinner in the marquee, then a keynote by the governor, and finally, a performance by the local youth orchestra on the terrace. Adam leaned over the chart. We need a contingency plan for weather, perhaps move everything under the veranda if it rains. Quote. I added, and a short speech by me thanking our partners and introducing the Hayes Community Fund. I want to emphasize how this legacy is for everyone. Marin typed rapidly. Got it? Anything else? I paused, considering. We should include a moment to honor Granny. Her advice carried me through. A toast to her and the women of our family. Silence settled reverently. Yes, Adam said, a tribute to the matriarchs. We finalized the program and set dates for rehearsals, floral delivery, catering confirmations, and press invitations. The gala would be our grandest showcase yet, a testament to resilience, unity, and love. That afternoon, I met with the estate's legal counsel to finalize the transfer of shares in the community fund, ensuring transparency and governance. Minutes later, I found myself in the chapel, practicing my speech beneath the arched ceiling, the echo of my own voice kindling confidence. As dusk approached, I walked alone through the rose garden, inhaling the heady scent of blossoms and reflecting on our journey. Only months ago, my parents had mocked my simple wedding. Now, they stood beside me as partners in this grand endeavor. In the distance, lanterns lit up the cottage where our first estate tour had begun, their glow a silent promise of the future we were building. I closed my eyes, feeling the soft breeze on my face, and whispered a vow to myself, to lead with compassion, to honor every promise, and to remember that true wealth lay in love shared and challenges overcome together. Tomorrow, I would stand before the community once more, not as a bride in a simple dress, but as a steward of a legacy reborn. The morning sun cast long shadows across the lawn as I stepped out onto the veranda, the air rich with the scent of damp earth and blooming jasmine. The estate, once a symbol of my parents' privilege, now represented our collective perseverance. Birds chirped in the ancient oaks, their song a gentle reminder that life carried on, ever renewing. Today marked the final major event before the estate's high season, the Governor's Gala, to be held in the grand marquee erected beside the Rose Garden. My speech was the centerpiece, a testament to our journey from turmoil to triumph. My parents would stand in the receiving line, their heads held high. Marin was coordinating last-minute floral arrangements, and Adam would deliver the closing remarks, solidifying our partnership. I paused at the top of the steps, smoothing the lines of my ivory silk gown edged with hand-embroidered lace, a wedding gift from my grandmother. Its simplicity echoed the humble wedding dress I had worn just months before, now gilded with the experience and grace I had gained. Adam joined me, bowing his head in a mock ceremony. "Milady, you look radiant." I laughed softly. "You flatter me." He brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. "Tonight, you'll shine even brighter." Inside, the marquee's crystal chandeliers sparkled against the draped ceiling. Tables were set with china and crystal, each place marked by a sprig of lavender. Soft music drifted from the string ensemble near the entrance. Staff moved quietly, ensuring plates and cutlery aligned perfectly. My mother approached, her eyes bright. She wore a midnight blue gown that shimmered under the light. "Rosalind," she said, embracing me, "I'm so proud." I kissed her cheek. "Thank you for trusting me." My father stood at her side, his posture relaxed but dignified. He grasped my hand. "Your vision has brought us back from the brink. This gala honors not just tradition, but resilience." I nodded, my heart full. The guests began to arrive, the governor and his wife, local dignitaries, business leaders, cultural patrons. They entered the marquee, greeted by a trumpet fanfare that sent a thrill through me. Marin whispered in my ear, "You're on in 5 minutes." I took a deep breath and stepped to the podium at the head table, the governor seated to my right, Adam to my left. The music faded, the room hushed. I cleared my throat, my voice steady. "Good evening, honored guests. Tonight, we celebrate more than a season's opening. We celebrate the power of hope, unity, and perseverance." When I stood here months ago, doubts clouded not only this estate, but my own heart. My parents mocked my simple wedding, convinced that a modest celebration held no value. A soft murmur rippled through the audience. I continued. Yet today, that simplicity became our greatest strength. In choosing authenticity, we forged bonds of trust and love stronger than any golden carriage could provide. With the support of family, friends, and this community, we have revived our legacy and built something more enduring than bricks and mortar. I looked at my parents, their eyes glistening. Thank you, Mother and Father, for believing in me when it mattered most. And thank you to my husband, Adam, whose unwavering faith sustained me through every challenge. He squeezed my hand, his green eyes shining. Let us raise our glasses to resilience, to unity, and to the bright future we will create together. Glasses chimed. A wave of applause washed over me, the sound warm and affirming. The governor rose, lifting his glass. Mrs. Hayes, your words resonate beyond these grounds. Your story is an inspiration to us all. I bowed my head. Thank you, Governor. As the event unfolded, dinner courses, speeches, a waltz under the chandelier's glow, I felt a profound sense of completion. Our journey had led here, from simple vows to grand celebrations, from hidden debts to flourishing prospects. Later, as Adam led me to the dance floor, I rested my head on his shoulder and whispered, "We did it." He kissed my temple. Yes, we did. Under the soft glow of candlelight, surrounded by the community we had engaged, I knew that our love and our story would endure far beyond any fleeting moment. It was proof that authenticity, courage, and unity could transform not just a day, but a legacy for generations to come. Dawn's first light filtered through the gauzy drapes of our bedroom, stirring me from restless dreams. I lay still for a moment, listening to Adam's steady breath beside me. The events of our wedding day, joy, trepidation, whispered revelations, echoed in my mind like distant bells. Today would mark the next step in our journey, confronting my parents' financial reality head-on, before it could undermine all we'd built. I slipped from bed and dressed in a tailored ivory pantsuit, practical yet elegant. As I smoothed the lapels, I steeled myself for difficult conversations. The final accounting of debts, plans to restructure loans, and the emotional reckoning that would follow. In the breakfast room, Adam stood waiting, 2 steaming cups of coffee in hand. He offered me one and met my gaze. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, taking a slow sip. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let's get to it." We headed to the estate's study, its paneled walls lined with shelves of leather-bound ledgers. My father sat at his desk, papers spread before him, eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights. My mother hovered behind, her arms crossed but her posture anxious. "Good morning," I began, voice gentle. "I want us to review every figure, every loan, so we can finalize our repayment plan. Honesty from here on out." Quote. My father nodded, swallowing hard. "I have the statements here," he said, gesturing to a stack of envelopes. "Everything. Consolidated." I took the top envelope and opened it. Inside lay bank statements, loan notices, correspondence, dog-eared and annotated in his spidery handwriting. "These are the home equity loans," I said, unfolding the pages. "And these?" I pointed to another stack. My mother spoke then, voice trembling. "Personal lines of credit, medical bills, renovations we never mentioned. We were ashamed and afraid." Tears stung my eyes, but I held my ground. "We're a family. We face this together. No shame." Adam knelt beside my father and said, "Let's create a complete balance sheet, then map out a timeline. We'll leverage the condo, the cabin rentals, the community fund proceeds, everything. You'll see, there is a path forward." For hours, we worked. Listing assets, prioritizing high-interest debts for immediate repayment, structuring lower-interest obligations into long-term agreements, and scheduling quarterly reviews to track progress. When the final sheet was complete, I leaned back, exhaustion mingling with relief. We did it. We know exactly where we stand. My father exhaled, the sound heavy with release. "Thank you. I don't know how I'd have faced this without you." I reached out and took his hand. "You don't have to. We're in this together." My mother enveloped me in a hug, tears spilling freely. "I'm so proud of you, Rosalind." I held her tight. "And I'm grateful for you. Every day." Later, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in pastels, I found a quiet moment in the rose garden. The petals glowed in the evening light, their fragrance sweet and timeless. Adam joined me, slipping an arm around my waist. "You were incredible today." I rested my head against him. It wasn't me, it was all of us. A family who chose unity over pride. He whispered, "Your parents are lucky to have you." I smiled, watching the blossoms sway. We're lucky to have each other. And tomorrow, we'll make another plan, another promise kept. Hand in hand, we walked through the garden, knowing that the battles ahead would be met with the same courage, honesty, and love that had defined our journey since that simple wedding day. The first rays of dawn found me in the rose garden, alone among blooms kissed by dew, reflecting all we had overcome. The estate, once teetering on the brink, now stood vibrant with life. Festivals, tours, galas woven into its story. Yet today I knew our journey was not ending, but transforming into a legacy that would outlast us all. I walked the winding path to the fountain where Adam awaited, coffee in hand, his smile greeting me like the rising sun. "Good morning," he said softly, offering the mug. I accepted, warmth seeping into my hands. "Good morning. Today feels like a reset, a chance to embrace what comes next." He nodded. "And whatever it is, we'll face it together." Leaving the garden, we entered the chapel where Marin and the team had set up for a final review of the Community Fund's Governance Board meeting. Portraits of ancestors lined the walls as reminders of the stewardship entrusted to us. We took our seats at the long table, community representatives, family members, trustees, all ready to formalize the fund's charter. I opened the agenda. Today we finalize our mission statement to preserve the Hayes Estate, support local youth and arts programs, and foster community engagement. Each clause passed unanimously. When the final resolution was read, the room broke into applause. My parents stood to join us, their faces shining with pride. My father cleared his throat. "Rosalind, today you and Adam have secured our family's future, not just by saving these walls, but by ensuring our legacy serves others." Tears welled in my eyes. "Thank you, but this belongs to all of us, our community, our family, our shared history." We adjourned and stepped outside into the courtyard, where staff and volunteers gathered for a celebratory breakfast. The scent of fresh pastries and coffee mingled with the morning air. As I made my way through the crowd, guests offered congratulations. A young couple thanked me for inspiring their own wedding plans. A teacher spoke of scholarship funding for her students. Each gratitude echoed the impact of our efforts. Turning to Adam, I said, "This feels like a beginning, a chance to build something beyond our dreams." He took my hand. "And together, we will." Later, as the festival grounds stirred to life with setup crews preparing for the weekend's events, I paused at the hedge maze entrance, now a symbol of our journey through challenges to clarity. I inhaled, the scent of lavender strong in the breeze. Then, steadied by love and purpose, I walked forward into the maze, ready for whatever paths lay ahead. Through every twist and turn, one truth remained. Authenticity and unity could transform not just a single day, but an entire future. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.